Um, he was born in Eleanor, Denmark. He was born around 1308. It said he lived about 30 years. I don't give a crap, Jacob. He lived about 30 years. So the estimated time that he died was maybe 1338 to 1339. His parents were King Hamlet and also Queen Gertrude. He was actually named after his father, which is kind of weird. They didn't even put like junior or anything. It is assumed that, the above date was how old he lived. Next slide. That's a explicit picture of Hamlet being born.
Why are you guys?
Go back. Go back.
Okay. A little bit about Hamlet whenever he discovered his father's death. Hamlet was, they first discovered the ghost of his father in the garden of the castle. His father had died there to poisoning years before, and then Claudius was put into power as king. He was killed. Hamlet found whenever he met the ghost, after a while of yelling at him and other occasions, trying to figure out who he was. Eventually, Hamlet followed the ghost, ignoring Rosencrantz, Gertrude, and a few other of the guards' warnings. Hamlet decided to follow anyways, and the ghost told Hamlet about how he was murdered in his sleep whenever he was laying down in the garden by his brother, and that sparked a flame in Hamlet, and he decided to take revenge because he thought it was unjust. Hamlet plots to kill his uncle. There was a bunch of cases in which he could have killed him, but he decided not to. I think the one that stood out the most was whenever Claudius was praying at his basically secret altar, or private altar. The reason Hamlet didn't take his chance there is because he wanted to make sure that he got sent to hell where he belonged. So Hamlet decided to not do it and to just wait. Next slide.
I just said it quadrillion.
Next one.
I can't do anything right now.
You can just pass that one. I basically already spoke about it.
Holy crap!
Stop.
Hamlet, he didn't really show any love interest besides Ophelia, but it doesn't really show that he loved him. He was more like an abusive jerk. All he really cared about Ophelia was her body. He liked to.
It's true.
Yeah, no.
It's literally true, and she was 16 and he was like 30. So.
Yeah, it was a lot of. Oh shoot, I couldn't.
He was
make
22.
jokes.
And she was 16 when they first met.
Yeah, but he basically, let's just say he used her sexually a lot. Next slide. Hamlet's friends. It doesn't really, I would say mostly it just focuses on Rosencrantz and Guildenstern being his closest friends. They had known each other since childhood, and they were really close. I would say there's probably a few others, but those were the main ones I wanted to focus on. Next. His hobbies. Basically just plays, poetry, sword play, fencing, and other stuff. He didn't really have many hobbies. I guess it was just whatever a prince did, he did. Next slide. Hamlet's role and personality. Okay. Hamlet, he was, I would say mostly just angry. I would say he had probably a lot of good personalities, before, it does, of course, doesn't cover that, but I would say before he, discovered his father's murder, he was probably a really nice guy, except for the fact that he's a sexist. I would say besides that, he was probably a nice guy. He was loved by basically all the townspeople. They actually more than the king himself, which was of course Claudius. Yes, he's the protagonist. His whole role in the story was just to exact revenge upon Claudius and to avenge his father. Next. Accomplishment. Well, he avenged his father and killed Claudius. Acknowledgements. Screenwriting was done by me. My sources was.
The CCP. Sources, ICP.
And other sources are stated on the works cited page.
The CCP. The PPP.
Yep, that's all.